What's the hardest thing about writing? Well, it's getting started. Maybe you're having a hard time coming up with a story idea, or you're stuck on where to take your story next. If you want a way into a story or a way through, I have 9 story starters to help you. This free PDF is full of story seeds and prompts to get you going. To download your 9 story starters, go to nancypanuccio.com/start. That's Nancy with an I, Panuccio with 2 C's, nancypanuccio.com/start. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you about a free 3-act worksheet to help you structure your story. Whether you're a plotter or a pantser, a novelist, or short fiction writer, this 3-act worksheet will help you navigate your material and even begin each new story with a better plan. Download yours at nancypanuccio.com/act. Stop getting stuck in the middle of your draft. Go grab this free worksheet, nancypanuccio.com/act. At the end of the scene, your character will realize something else, believe something else, and he'll decide what he'll do next. Writer Unleashed is for you, a writer who has a story you want to bring onto the page and into the hearts and minds of readers. I'm Nancy Panuccio, writer, editor, and writing coach. And each week, we'll explore techniques, mindsets, and inspiration for writing stories readers can't put down. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let's begin. You have your story outline mapped out and done. You know your plot beat by beat. You know your characters inside and out. But as soon as we start reading, the story falls apart. Often what undermines an otherwise compelling story is poorly written scenes. So how can you write more captivating, impactful, and well-structured scenes? How do you tell if a scene should be in your story, or if it's just filler you can cut out? In this episode, we'll talk about what a scene is. We'll talk about the difference between scenes and chapters and why I recommend you focus on scenes before you structure your book into chapters. And then we'll break down 5 essential elements that make a scene. And I'll illustrate these elements with an example from the book I've been reading, Little Children by Tom Perrotta. So let's get right to it. Often writers give me scenes that are too long and meandering. They're bloated with random situations, characters, and extraneous details that don't cohere into a unified scene. Often there are 2 or 3 or even more events or time frames that bleed into one another in this continuous sequence, and then the writer calls that a scene. So what is a scene? A scene is a distinct, self-contained unit of story that takes place within a specific setting and time frame. It focuses on one particular event, interaction, or development involving your characters. In a scene, characters engage in the action in a vivid, concrete way that allows the events to feel as if they're unfolding in real time. Each scene has its own beginning, middle, and end, and when linked together, individual scenes add up to and build your storyline. Now, some writers who come to me for coaching write in chapters rather than scenes. So each chapter will be one scene, or they'll think it's one scene when it's really a few scenes and events running together. But the scenes aren't framed, and so we work on framing each scene with attention to how it all fits into the global story. So what's the difference between a chapter and a scene? Both scenes and chapters are ways of organizing your narrative, of dividing it into manageable sections so the reader can absorb and be pulled deeper and deeper into the story. A chapter is more of an arbitrary division. It's usually a group of related scenes working together to make up that chapter. A chapter may have 5 scenes, it may have 3 scenes, it may only have 1 scene. There really are no hard and fast rules about how many scenes you can have in a chapter. But scenes and chapters have 2 distinct functions. A chapter controls the reading pace of the story. Scenes set the structural pace. A good way to organize chapters is when you're switching to another character's point of view. So you have a new character point of view and a new chapter with a group of related scenes to that chapter. Or when you're switching between the main plot and a subplot. Often writers will switch points of view within the chapter. They'll separate the points of view in individual scenes, but those various points of view will be part of the same chapter. And this is where the novel gets unwieldy and confusing for the reader, because there's no structure. A chapter is a good resting point for the reader. It tells them this is a good place to put the book down and take a break. The reader needs to have that resting point. This is especially important if your book has multiple points of view and different timelines or flashbacks. Without chapters, the reader will feel overwhelmed and confused because everything is crowded together. Again, chapters are a way to control the pace for the reader. It helps guide the reader's experience. Scenes control the structural pace. A short scene moves at a fast pace. A long scene moves at a slower pace. I always encourage writers I coach to write in scene rather than chapters. I do this because, number one, scenes allow you to control the pace of your story. Let's say you've had a lot of action or intense dialogue. Well, you can intentionally slow down the pace with a longer scene. You don't want too many long scenes. That will make the story drag. You also don't want too many short scenes in succession because that can make the narrative feel jerky. A short scene typically is 10 pages or less. Some scenes are just a couple of pages. A long scene would be between 10 and 15 pages. I wouldn't go longer than that. So let's say you've just written a series of scenes with fast-paced action. You can slow down with a longer scene. Maybe that's a flashback that gives us more insight into the psychology of your character. The other reason I encourage writers to write in scene rather than chapters is because scenes allow you to make sure that every piece of your story has a purpose and is relevant to the global story, your plot. They also give your reader a place to pause so they can absorb what's just happened and anticipate what will happen in the next scene. You can always group related scenes together into separate chapters, but scenes, not chapters, scenes are the building blocks of your story. Okay, so before we get to the 5 elements of a scene, let's talk about what a scene is not. A scene is not your character thinking about their life or ruminating about what happened in the past or what already happened yesterday. It's not a long history of characters and places. It's not a long detour into situations with characters that have no relevance to your protagonist or his or her story goal. It's not a place to explain something to the reader. Now, a scene may include some exposition or summary or a little bit of backstory, but on its own, those things will not make a scene. Flashback, however, is a separate scene. It takes place in a different time and a different place. I did a whole episode on flashback, episode 132, Flashback Do's and Don'ts, episode 132, I'll link in the show notes. A scene is a sequence of continuous action that happens in one specific place and time frame. Once you move to another location or a different time in the same location, for example, later that day, you're in a new scene. Space break, new scene. Let's say your characters are at a pool party and they're interacting outside, and then they move into the kitchen and continue the situation there. Well, the kitchen is the new scene. Space break, new scene. But let's say the characters stay outside by the pool, and then a new character enters with whom your protagonist strikes up a flirtatious conversation. The end of the scene is when he arrives, and the new scene is when they start talking. Space break, new scene. Okay, so now that we've dialed in what a scene is, let's look at 5 essential elements that make a scene. What makes a scene is, number 1, action. Now, by action, I don't mean car chases or explosions or bar fights. It doesn't mean your character's being pursued by a horde of zombies. Action could be intense, or it can be small. It can be a quiet action. The action could simply be a character doing push-ups, or a mom at the playground rummaging through her bag for the rice cakes she swore she'd packed for her kids' mid-morning snack at the playground, who's now having a meltdown because all the other kids are at the picnic table having juice packs and goldfish crackers. Action simply means events are happening and interesting characters are acting it out in a simulation of real time. So there's action and momentum. There are different types of action. There's physical action, there's character thought, there's dialogue. Some scenes need more physical action, others need more dialogue. Some scenes have no dialogue, just a character's internal response to what's happening. It could be a character interacting with the setting. For example, a character walks through the snow to her babysitting job and thinks about how flimsy her boots are and how cold she is and how other girls her age have more expensive warm boots. So the dialogue may be internal. But it's happening in one particular place at one particular time. The action creates momentum. Okay, on to number 2. A scene is anchored in one point of view. Even if you're writing in third person, even if you have multiple points of view in your story, we're seeing the action filtered and we're experiencing it in real time through one character's viewpoint in the scene. Now, sometimes the scene will go briefly into another character's perspective, a minor character, for example, but that's an intentional choice and it's an advanced move. For now, I recommend keeping the scene's action anchored in one character's point of view. Okay, on to number 3, intention. Your point of view character comes into the scene wanting something. It could be as simple as wanting to get a jog in before dinner, or as intense as escaping from the serial killer in the basement. Whatever it is, your character will encounter some obstacle, opposition, or resistance. Scene intentions will involve some kind of conflict related to your plot. Think of each scene as your story in miniature. The immediate desire in each scene is related to that character's core desire in the overall story. So you want to ask, what's the most immediate desire of the point of view character in this scene? Will this character achieve what he wants or not? When will he achieve his intention? Or when will she encounter some type of opposition? And is this intention relevant to your plot? It doesn't matter what your character's intentions are. It could be something as simple as wanting to get across town. You just need to know the intentions at the beginning of each scene so you can see whether they're met or thwarted. On to number 4, new information. This could be a new insight, a revelation, or another piece of the puzzle. Each scene should fill in another piece of the plot so that both character and reader learn something new. Plot is best delivered to the reader gradually in small bits. That will keep them hungry for more. The reader gets just a little bit smarter, a little bit more clued in as he reads. So each scene should provide one more clue to the plot. Your character will get new information, and as your character gets new information, so does the reader. Now, sometimes it's not the character learning something new, it's just the reader. So something new about the character will be revealed indirectly or through flashback. So ask yourself, what's next? What piece of information do I need my character to learn and my readers to become aware of? Every scene needs to drop at least one new piece of information. You don't want to drop too much information, but at least one new piece of information. Otherwise, there's really no point in even writing the scene. Okay, on to number 5. Every scene has an arc of change. Your character comes into the scene believing one thing or expecting some kind of outcome, and he leaves the scene either getting what he wants or not. At the end, it's either going to be a win or a loss for him. So there's a beginning, middle, and end. The beginning draws your reader into the scene with a character intention. In the middle of the scene, the stakes are raised, your character gets caught in some kind of conflict, and then consequences follow that lead to the next step in your story. Scene endings set the stage for scenes that follow. It may leave a lingering question or anticipation for what comes next. But whatever happens externally in the scene, we need to know why it matters to your character. The new information will change your point of view character's thoughts, feelings, or actions. It will lead to new consequences or behaviors that move your plot forward. But the change is internal. At the end of the scene, your character will realize something else, believe something else, and he'll decide what he'll do next. Here's a scene from the novel I'm reading, Little Children by Tom Perrotta. This is the first scene of chapter 2, where we meet Todd, the novel's co-protagonist. This chapter has 6 scenes. The first chapter was in the main protagonist's point of view, Sarah, which had 4 scenes. So here's scene 1 from chapter 2. 81, 82. Kathy called from the cell phone around 4 when Aaron was napping and Todd was nearing the end of his 3rd and final set of push-ups. 83. Hi, she said. the answering machine broadcasting her staticky voice throughout the downstairs. How are my two favorite boys? Did you have fun at the pool? 85. Todd, I'm not going to be home until 6:30. One of the POW interviews ran late, and I've been playing catch-up all afternoon. Sorry about that. He groaned, trying not to break rhythm. 87. He'd been hoping to get a run in before dinner. 88. Leaning to the left. 89. Better straighten out. The hamburgers and smart dogs are in the fridge. You just need to make the salad and marinate the peppers and eggplant in some of the good olive oil. All right, I guess that's it. Be a good boy for Daddy, Aaron. Mommy loves you. Bye. 92, his arms were shaking. 93, really wanted to go for that run. 94, fucking POWs. 95, smart dogs, what a stupid name. 96, going to be hell to pay in a few years. 97, when all these kids wake up and realize that they've been eating these crappy vegetarian hot dogs. 98, 2 to go. 99, all you, baby. 100, yes! He sprang from the floor, his body humming from the surge of bliss that 3 sets of 100 push-ups each never failed to inspire. Sure, there were lots of things in the world that sucked. Kathy working late, for instance, screwing up his exercise plans. How she was always so tired when she got home and guilty about being away from Aaron all day. And the way she acted like it was all Todd's fault, which it was to a certain extent, but what was the point of reminding him all the time? On the other hand, lots of things didn't suck. Long summer days with nothing to do but hang out. Afternoons at the pool, surrounded by young mothers in their bathing suits. And the way his body felt right now, the blood pumping into the muscles, the excellent soreness in his triceps, and when Aaron called out for him just then, right on time, there was something beautiful about that too. The way a little kid needed you for everything and wasn't afraid to say so. Hold on, little buddy, he said. I'll be right there. Okay, let's unwrap this. Number 1, action. He's working out. He's doing push-ups. He's also listening to his wife as she leaves a message on the phone. And he's thinking about the ramifications of what she's saying. Number 2, point of view. We're experiencing the scene through Todd's experience. Even though it's written in third person, we're still getting it filtered through his viewpoint, his consciousness. Number 3, scene intention. What does he want? Simple. He wants to exercise. He wants to exercise while his kid is taking his nap, and he hopes to get in a run a little later. What gets in his way? His wife's work schedule. Number 4, new information. He learns his wife is coming home late and that he'll be preparing the dinner. This causes conflict. He wants to go for that run, and that plan is foiled. The essential information we learn as the reader is that he's a stay-at-home dad, the house husband, and the mom is the sole breadwinner. These details are essential to the plot. We also learn that this is a point of contention for them. There's a lack of connection between these two because of her long hours, and that she kind of blames him for it, although we don't yet know why he's taking most of the blame. We don't even know what led to this role reversal, but that will be doled out in the scenes that follow. Okay, number 5. What's the arc of change? Well, he starts out resentful, even angry. He wants some time to himself to get out of the house and get that run in before dinner, but now it looks like he's going to be preparing the dinner. He's not going to get what he wants. He thinks how sucky this is, not just the run, but his wife's late hours and the way she's always tired, and blames him for it. But then he starts to reevaluate the good things about his situation. And finally, he moves towards acceptance and gratitude. Ultimately, what we learn from this brief scene is that he's a good dad who truly loves his son. And this is in sharp contrast to the first chapter where we meet Sarah, who doesn't seem to enjoy motherhood or even particularly like her kid. Okay, we've covered a lot, so let's recap. We talked about what a scene is. A scene is a distinct, self-contained unit of story that takes place within a specific setting and a specific time frame. It focuses on one particular event, interaction, or development involving your characters. In a scene, characters engage in the action in a concrete, vivid way that allows the events to feel as though they're unfolding in real time. Scenes are the building blocks of your story, not chapters. So rather than write in chapters, focus on shaping individual scenes and then group them into chapters later. Here are 5 essential elements to every scene. Number 1, action. These may be big, intense actions or quiet actions. Action simply means events are happening and people are acting it out in a simulation of real time. So there's action and momentum. Number 2, single point of view. We're seeing the action filtered and we're experiencing it in real time through one character's viewpoint in any one scene. If you're going to change points of view, group those into separate chapters dispersed throughout the story. Number 3, intention. What's the most immediate desire of the point of view character in this scene? Will he achieve what he wants or not? And is this intention relevant to your plot? Number 4, new information. Drop at least one new piece of information in every scene. And number 5, arc of change. Your character will start in one emotional place at the beginning of the scene, and at the end of the scene, she'll realize something else, believe something else. He may decide to change his plans or decide what he'll do next. So there you have it, 5 essential elements to writing a great scene. Think of your scenes as mini stories that relate to and add up the whole story. We want movement in a story. We want both physical movement and emotional movement. Each scene is a reconstruction of the core desire. She comes into the scene wanting something. It's usually related to the main story goal. She encounters conflict and moves through the scene. And at the end, there's been a shift within the character and within the reader. A scene immerses your reader in the world of your story and in the lives of your characters. When your scenes are shaped and framed, when there's focus and structure, you create a page-turning story. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you know a fellow writer who could benefit from this episode, please share. Just drop a link on your favorite social platform or drop it into a DM. And if you're listening on Apple and you got value from this episode, please leave me a review. This will help get Writer Unleashed into the ears of more writers. I'll meet you here next week, same time, same place. Till then, keep writing, and I'll talk to you soon.